now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Lost track of the days there. It is Thursday. That means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Appreciate you hanging out with us as we start working towards the weekend. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. Luke Johnson in 15 minutes. He was there for Mickey Loomis's press conference yesterday. We'll get his thoughts on that. Mine on that are coming up a little bit later as well. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers from the LSU Sports Radio Network, will be along with us in hour number 2 to talk about the Tigers' win on the hardwood last night. Plenty of goings on in the world of sports, and we'll be breaking them down for you until 3 o'clock today. I will start with LSU and Ole Miss on the hardwood last night inside the PMAC. I was able to go. Only the second game I've attended this year. Had a great time. Very much enjoyed it. Decent crowd. A reasonable environment, and a solid effort and a good win by Matt McMahon's LSU Tigers. 89-80 was the final, and if you heard me on the show yesterday, these are the games that I'm looking at for this LSU basketball team and the program moving forward. I'm not as concerned with getting blown out by Auburn. I'm not as concerned with beating Vanderbilt at home. I'm not as concerned with what happens when they go to Knoxville. I'm concerned with how LSU fares with the middle of what I deem to be, at this point in the calendar, a pretty mediocre SEC. I think Kentucky's good. I think Tennessee's very good. And after that, with Auburn, Alabama, and then kind of whatever's next, your Floridas of the world, Ole Miss A&M, it's pretty mediocre. And I think Ole Miss falls squarely in the middle of the SEC, despite what their record says, based on a pretty poor non-conference schedule. And LSU, straight up, played better than Ole Miss last night and beat them. If you kind of go through the flow of the game, Ole Miss gets up 7 about 10 minutes into the game, and LSU quickly goes on a 7-0 run to erase that. And when you look up at halftime, it was basically a stalemate. At halftime, Ole Miss was 12 of 28 from the floor. LSU was 12 of 29 from the floor, almost identical. Both teams had committed 9 turnovers in the first half. Both teams had made 6 free throws in the first half. The first half featured 4 ties and 5 lead changes. It was back and forth. It was a stalemate in the first half, and LSU led 35-33 because LSU hit a couple more three-pointers in the half. But LSU in the second half was fantastic, especially on the offensive end of the floor. In the second half alone, LSU shot 55% from the floor, 63% from three-point range, just 5 of 8, but 63% there, and made 17 of their 21 free throws. It was efficient. It was balanced. It came from the free throw line, the three-point line, some points off turnovers, attacking the rim, some points on the baseline, some points off the bounce, some points were assisted. It was just very, very, very positive on the offensive side for LSU in a half where you look up and I guess they scored 89 and they had 35. So you're looking at a 54-point half from LSU in the second half, which is phenomenal work. I thought a couple of key moments in the second half. Tyrell Ward hit back-to-back threes, one off a catch and shoot, one off the bounce. We know Tyrell Ward can be a catch and shoot player. He was that last year. It's really the only dimension he brought to the floor last year. Wasn't a great defender, couldn't put the ball on the floor, didn't distribute. But in a catch and shoot 3 rhythm, he was good. And so he hit one of those. He also hit one off the bounce contested, which is a development in his game as a scorer. That was great to see. And that second 3 put LSU up 11 with just under 12 minutes to go in the game. The lead would get up to 16, but Ole Miss would go on a 9-0 run to cut it down. And then after trading a couple baskets, it was 66-60 LSU with 5 minutes and 38 seconds left. But LSU then surged ahead with a 9-0 run to push the lead back to 15. And then came the point where, Jake, back we were talking off the air, like, you thought it was in the game. The first 6 points of that were free throws, but Ole Miss, a 10-0 run to cut the lead close, and you had to think, it's not looking good.
It was worrisome.
And look, LSU bowed its neck and came out offensively. Didn't get stops on defense, but did enough on offense to keep things rolling. And then Williams hits the huge three from the right corner to make the lead 9 with 22 seconds to go, and that's going to put ice on it. So it was not a great defensive effort, other than the fact that LSU did kind of what it does and created some steal opportunities. Jordan Wright was fantastic in that way. Gave up 80 points to a pretty good Ole Miss offensive team, but LSU was relentless offensively and ended up putting up 89 points and doing enough to win the game. And we talked yesterday to David Eckert, who covers Ole Miss, and I went through the statistics and said, look, Chris Beard is going to build a winner in Oxford because he's just a great coach. You can build a winner in Lubbock, Texas. I promise you can do it in Oxford, Mississippi. And if he stays there long enough, he will. But he doesn't have his type of team with his DNA yet, because his type of team with his DNA is not giving up 89 points to LSU. They're not giving up the 80-something they gave up to Florida. Now, they scored 103 in that game, but they gave up 80-plus points. This is not a great Ole Miss defensive team, but LSU offensively is pretty good. I don't know if they'll be great every time out, but they're pretty good on offense. Jalen Cook has transformed them a little bit, and Jordan Wright has evolved into kind of their most consistent scorer. And last night, by now you probably know this, but Jordan Wright stuffed the stat sheet like no one at LSU has done in 25 years. He had 27 points. He had 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 steals. And that's kind of what LSU is at this point defensively. They're not a great rim protecting team. I don't know if they're awesome on the ball on the perimeter, but they're opportunistic. And Jordan Wright has been in the SEC for 4 years. He's instinctive. He's lost a little bit of weight. He's a little bit more agile, a little bit quicker. And he got his hands on the ball for 7 steals in the game. And that created some fast break points. LSU had 12 of those. And, you got some points off turnovers, 10 of those. And LSU did enough to win the game, and that was really important. You're trying to build on this thing. And trust me, I would rather be in a position where we're sitting here talking about net rankings, talking about offensive efficiency numbers and how that's dealing with the net and what LSU's opponents in the non-conference are doing and what the resume looks like. But the truth of the matter is that we're not quite there. So what we can do is analyze the games one by one and talk about the positive direction the program is going. And that's going to change week to week. I promise you, this team is not done losing 2 games in a row. Yeah, they're 3-1. I don't think they're going to end up going 15-3 in the league. And I don't think anybody's under that impression. So there will be shows where we come in and there's a disappointment that we've just witnessed, and there will be shows where there's a real positive. And hopefully the positives outweigh the disappointments. And certainly right now, if you look at LSU, having played 4 conference games and gone 3-1, the one loss being probably the toughest place to play in the league, that's a positive spot that LSU is in. And you'll take any positive you can get after losing your entire roster and then winning 2 league games last year. They've got a couple of really solid signees, and this group is playing better. They're improving. They're better than the team that was fighting and scrapping and clawing with Nichols and North Florida. They're better than the team that went up to Syracuse and got hammered. They're better than the team that played Kansas State at home and was non-competitive. Again, they will have their bumps in the road moving forward. But they're opportunistic on defense. They're steady on offense. And they're winning some games. And that's the direction that you want this thing to go in. It was never going to be an overnight deal. Now, there were some negatives I did not love last night. Like, I didn't love the play right before the end of the first half. You just flattened the floor out and ran one high ball screen and really didn't even get a shot off. I'd like to see something a little bit more creative and something with a little more structure to it than that. LSU put Ole Miss on the foul line far too many times last night. It's tough to win ball games when you're allowing teams to shoot 29 free throws. They made 26 of those. You're talking about 26 points from the free throw line. Like, that's a tough way to make a living. And LSU was able to weather that because they were so good on offense. But, man, 21 fouls, that's a lot for a team that's also given up a lot of points. So it's not perfect, and it was never going to be a work of art. But they're taking those steps. And, again, I think Ole Miss is squarely in the middle of this league with the South Carolinas, Georgias of the world. Probably Florida is in that discussion. I think Arkansas and A&M are in that discussion. I think you can rule out the teams I talked about, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Auburn, probably at the top for me, and then Vanderbilt on the low end. Everybody else is in a fight twice a week with everybody else to jockey for position. Right now, LSU beat Texas A&M on the road and beat Ole Miss at home. Those are veteran teams with good coaches, and LSU stood up to them and beat them. Nothing fluky about either one. Yeah, Ole Miss shot it poorly last night. Like we talked about how well they've shot from the three. They're in the top 10 in the country in three-point shooting percentage, even though they hadn't shot a ton of them. And they've shot 25% last night, just 6 of 24. But you'll take that, and some of that is good defense. I'm certain at some point over the next 14 league games, you're going to run into a team that throws in 13 threes in a night, and LSU's going to lose that game. Like that's just the nature of what January 1st through the beginning of March looks like. But the sample size we have looking at right now with LSU is positive. Now you get a quick rematch with A&M coming up on Saturday on your home floor. It'd be really impressive, in my opinion, to win that game. I realize that A&M's off to a bad conference start and that you've already beaten them, but there are a lot of pieces from that team that played a phenomenal SEC gauntlet last year and made the NCAA tournament. So going to be another tough one on Saturday, but hopefully a little better crowd with better weather and with a better time of day, a Saturday afternoon game. Hopefully a good crowd inside the PMAC. That's generally the way this thing goes. As momentum builds, as the team wins, more people come out, and maybe they can find a little momentum here that I honestly didn't quite see coming. Full disclosure, like I'll just lay this out here. It was not usually everything I say is on the air and recorded. This, not recorded. It was a text message between me and Matthew Bruni at On 3. I thought they'd win 2 or 3 league games this year. Based on what I saw against the non-conference teams that they played that were very, very poor, and their games against Kansas State, Texas, and Syracuse. I said, look, I don't think they're going to win more than 2 or 3. Well, they've already got 3. So I'm not wrong yet, but I'm knocking on the door, and I would love it. So let's hope the Tigers can keep it rolling on Saturday against Texas A&M. 89-80 was the final. We'll talk a little bit more about that in an hour with Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. When we come back, Mickey Loomis had a press conference that not a lot of people were wild about yesterday. We'll see what Luke Johnson had to say about it. He covers the black and gold for The Advocate. He's with us next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Let's tie a pros in car care. I want to be a radio professional right now. 10440 Greenville Springs Road. Go down Sherwood Forest. You're going to get to Greenville Springs Road. You take a left. You want to talk about home brand. You want to talk since 1988. It doesn't matter what you need. All changes, tune-ups, alignments, battery service, belts and hoses, brake repair. They are professionals. 7A to 6P Monday through Friday. They'll work with you. Call up, set up an appointment. They'll do it all besides a transmission. Hunt's Tire Pros in car care.
After further review with Matt Moscona, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
121-1674. Offices in Baton Rouge.
On Friday's OTB, get you ready for another NFL playoff weekend. Plus, how did the women fare in their latest SEC bout? Well, LSU baseball as well. And an hour of champagne shenanigans. Friday, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Rouse's Supermarkets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, who have waded into the offseason, made a couple of changes, haven't made some changes we thought may be coming. Mickey Loomis kind of addressed it all yesterday in a press conference. Luke Johnson was there. Covers the Saints for The Advocate, joins us here on Thursdays, does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how are you, sir?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. How would you describe the mood around Mickey Loomis's press conference yesterday?
Well, I think, are you going to ask me as a reporter, or are you going to ask me to kind of get the sense of the fan base? Because I think those are two vastly different things.
I'm more curious, because we'll get to the fan base. What was it like in the room? I've seen press conferences that get a little bit, combative's too strong a word, but like clearly the press believes one thing and then the person who's being interviewed believes another. And then I've seen somewhere it's just kind of like, all right, well, tell us what you think.
Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know, you're right. Combative is not really the right word for it, but Mickey definitely came into that prepared to kind of draw his line in the sand on some things, right, and say what he thinks about some things, because he's aware of some of the public perception and some of the things the public thinks about his team and the decisions they've made. So he kind of came into that, wanted to give a rebuttal to some things and to put his 2 cents on things. So it was interesting. That's kind of that was my 6th season on the Saints beat. I've never seen Mickey like that, and I think a handful of reporters who've been on the beat longer than I have probably feel the same way. Yeah, that was kind of I don't know, odd or strange to see Mickey Loomis act like that. But he's obviously feels some conviction about the decisions he's made, and he feels that maybe it's not being presented in the right way. I don't know the right way to put it, but it was strange.
It looks strange from the outside as well. How did the fan base receive it?
Well, look, I think the fan base just wants all the reporters to stand up in the room and say, "What the hell are you talking about?" You know, like that's all. Like look, especially the whole note card thing. And Mickey came into that prepared to defend Dennis Allen by citing Chuck Noll and Bill Belichick and Tom Landry and Bill Walsh, like arguably four of the greatest coaches of all time. I mean, look, I get in a sense, like when you're looking at it in a vacuum and you're taking out the emotion of it all, like I get what he's saying. He is trying to say that like they believe in Dennis Allen and they don't put just the full stock in the record. And they say it has been done before where coaches have had poor records and turned into these great coaches. I get what he's saying in that sense, but like, read the room, man.
Yeah.
You know, like people here are so just you at least look through the prism of Twitter, which is like what it is, right? Or social media. People here are so riled up about just like wanting Dennis Allen the hell out. Right. And if your answer to that is to compare him, however you're doing it, to use his name in the same sentence as Hall of Fame NFL coaches, the greatest coaches of all time. I mean, that just got people so mad yesterday. I mean, like people are literally just like quote tweeting my quote and just like saying, you know, all these nasty things about Mickey, you know, that he's off his rocker and all this stuff. I mean, it backfired. So it was strange. I get what he's saying, but it's just like you can't look at this in a vacuum and say like, well, you know, these guys also had bad records, and you know, it's kind of throwing also the time in Oakland just completely out with the bathwater, which I don't think you can do either.
Yeah, that's part of the equation. I don't know how important it is, but it certainly is part of the equation here. And so my question to you is not how close do you think they are to being towards the top of the NFC? How close do you believe that Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen believe that this franchise is to competing to get to the NFC Championship and get to the Super Bowl? Because it feels like with what they continue to do, they think they're that close.
Yeah, I think they think they're a lot closer than anybody else thinks, which is fine. You know, like I've said this before, I don't think there's any problem with wanting to be competitive. I think your fan base should want that. Everybody is all in love with the Sixers hashtag the process, you know, where you just blow it up and you try to get a high draft pick to go get Caleb Williams or Drake May or, you know, whoever the quarterback du jour is. I just don't, you know, if I'm a sports fan, I'm kind of wanting to see my team go for it. But at the same time, you look at what the Saints have done in recent years, and you look at some of the contract numbers coming up for players who are not performing up to the level of their contracts, and you're like, well, you know, how do you really think this can work? You know, I mean, I have a hard time seeing it. You know, and the Saints obviously feel differently about it. They feel differently about it than pretty much anybody else does. So, like, part of me wants to respect them for having conviction about it and believing in it and going for it. But the other part of me is just wondering what they're seeing because I'm not seeing it.
The change they did make was relieving Pete Carmichael of his duties after nearly 2 decades with the franchise. Your reaction to that news and kind of where you think that they go next?
So, I mean, my reaction to it was I was expecting it. I texted my group chat the morning of the thing, and I think this is the last day. Just because they could sell it last year. Yeah, they had all the injuries last year. They went out and got a quarterback. You know, they did all the things to give him every opportunity to succeed, and it just didn't work. Yeah, their numbers were marginally better this year, but for big chunks of the season, they were not a competitive offense with all of the things working for him. So, not surprising at all. Completely expected. You know, I've had something written about that for 2 weeks now that they were going to move on from him. I think the thing that is interesting about this is the first 3 names that pop up that they're interviewing for offensive coordinator positions. That is Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator of Seattle, Dan Pitcher, the quarterback's coach in Cincinnati, and Zach Robinson, who's the passing game coordinator in LA. All 3 of those guys are completely different guys. Run a completely different system than the one they've run for the last 20 years here. So that's what's really interesting about me. I think when I was thinking about them relieving Pete Carmichael, I was thinking that they would just kind of do what they do and stick to the thing they do, and just get a new set of eyes in there. Maybe it's Ronald Curry, or maybe it's somebody who is really experienced in like the West Coast style offense that they've run forever. The name John Gruden was thrown around. Maybe Jay Gruden, maybe somebody who just has run a version of the thing they've run in the past. But instead, the first three guys they talked to all have connections to the McVay tree, which is, when you look at some of the best quarterback play in the NFL, a lot of those guys coached under Sean McVay. A lot of the guys who get the best quarterback play coach under McVay. I think it's interesting. I think it's smart for them to try to do something different there and see if they can get more out of this offense, because I think it's clear they have some playmakers on the offense.
We talked about this last week, and you talked about the issues they need to address on the offensive line. Where would you rank offensive line and pass rusher in terms of what they need most?
1 and 1A.
Okay.
It is critical for them to address that this offseason. And frankly, I just don't know how they're going to do it. They're not going to be able to be a big player in free agency. They're not going to be able to go out and get a turbo stud out there. So you think number 14 would have to go one of those two directions. But they don't have a lot of draft picks either. They have a first and a second, but they don't have a third and a fourth. They'll probably get I think they're in line to get 2 compensatory fourth round picks, but that's at the back end of the fourth round. They need a lot of help there. And it's going to be hard to go into that knowing you need to help with those 2 positions and get what you need out of just the draft or just free agency. We'll see. I think they're going to have to just get creative with how they manage this offseason, just because of the position they're in against the cap. Are they going to touch Derek Carr's contract and basically ensure he's going to be back for a third season? If they don't, are they going to be able to clear enough money? They're in a precarious position. They've got a lot of needs, and those are 2 of the biggest ones.
I would imagine offensive coordinator may wrap up within the next 7 days. We'll talk to you next week about it. Thanks, Luke.
Sounds good, man.
Luke Johnson covers the Saint for The Advocate. Check him out on Twitter @ByLukeJohnson. I was curious, Luke's thoughts on the emotion in the room for the press conference, and it sounds like it was pretty standard, where there was just some questions asked, and Mickey Loomis got across the point he got across, and that's what he wanted to do. There are certainly times where the assembled media disagrees with a statement that is being made by either a player, usually in the NFL or the professional level, or whoever they're interviewing, and things can get a little tense when the follow-up questions happen. And I sensed there was a little bit of I don't know if aggression is the right word, but some vinegar behind like what Mickey Loomis was saying. It doesn't sound like that was generated from the room. It sounds like that was directed at basically Saints fans. Like, hey, I know that everybody says we got to fire Dennis Allen, but that's wrong. Here's why. And that's why he sounded that way. So it wasn't necessarily a media created environment. It was Mickey Loomis wanted to get a point across, and he did. I'll give my thoughts on it coming up at the top of hour number 2, because I've got some thoughts, and we'll play some of the sound that Mickey said yesterday. It's created a lot of buzz down here in South Louisiana. That's for sure. We'll move right along here. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Charlie and Jimmy had a brief discussion on their show live at lunch yesterday about Nick Saban's legacy at LSU. That's been a complicated thing in my head for 20 years. And I want to kind of let you kind of know where I stand. And I'm curious where you as an LSU fan base stands now that he has moved on and is no longer roaming the sidelines in Tuscaloosa. That's coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric. Been telling you all week. It's not just hurricanes that knock power out around here. Every once in a while, there's an ice event, and the power going out is just an absolute drag. And you can prevent it. if you just give our friends at Boudreaux's Electric a call. Look, Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been operating Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They are a premier Generac generator dealer. When they come out to install a generator at your home, they're going to do so in a very, very professional way. It uses the highest quality of copper wiring and tubing, and most of the installation is going to be done underground, so it's not some unsightly huge box outside of your home. For just $5.20 a month for the life of that 10-year warranty on your generator, you can have the peace of mind of knowing my power's not going out, whether it's for a week during hurricane season or just for a cold night while there's an ice storm around here. Boudreaux's Electric can help you out. I want you to make that phone call today. 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. Give our friends at Boudreaux's Electric a call.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours.
Join me and Jimmy out for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Rufino's on Highland Road starting at 11 a.m. Bruce Marshall is with us as we take a look at the weekend in college basketball and the NFL playoffs. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out to our friends over at Rouse's. Download that Rouse's app. Make your shopping so much easier. We're just a touch and deliver society these days. Nobody wants to go in and shop. I actually enjoy my time in the grocery store. I like to walk around there, explore some options. I'm efficient in it. My wife will spend freaking forever in a grocery store. I'm not in it for that. I'm in and out, but I enjoy the walk around of Rouse's. They're clean. They got great options. But if you don't have time to enjoy that shopping experience, go ahead and download the Rouse's app. You can do all your shopping right there on the app. Set a pickup time. As long as you spend $35, just curbside pickup. They'll walk it right out to you. You're on your way. Make it easy for you over at Rouse's official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week.
Will your wife ask for help if she can't find something in the store?
No, she knows where stuff is.
Okay, because my wife, like, if she can't find something, she'll walk around the store 3 times before she asks anyone.
But no, Alyssa she knows where she's going. Like, we are not a very creative cooking
But you said she's
family.
not efficient.
No, because she just dilly-dallies.
Okay.
Like, it's not that she's looking for something. It's like, do I want this or do I want that? It's like she'll spend 10 minutes whether it's she needs to get broccoli or cauliflower. It's the same thing. Get them both. We'll eat one night, one the other night. It doesn't. She acts like it's her last meal. Like, but we're not very good at cooking. So like we're not getting creative with we can put these combinations together.
Right.
It's like, no, we're having the same 4 meals like every week. Like we're not. My grocery store runs, I would say 11 minutes max.
That's pretty good.
She's 45. Like it's a different experience. Let's just say that. Okay, this Jimmy and Charlie got me thinking yesterday. And I'm curious because there is no right or wrong answer here. This is just purely a feeling. Nick Saban obviously came to LSU and revitalized a program that was asleep. And what has happened over the last 24 years, I don't think many people in their 50s, 60s, 70s could have even envisioned seeing. LSU had a couple of good runs there with Hodgson, and they had a nice couple of moments under DiNardo, but LSU was not anywhere near a national power. And now, in any discussion of the best football programs in the country, LSU has to be mentioned. You've won 3 national championships in the last 21 years, and you've played for another one. There are very few teams that can boast anything resembling that. And you can argue how much is due to Saban, but you can't discredit him completely. But we know the story with Nick Saban now. He left LSU when you felt like you were on the precipice of being great. We know what he left behind with Bo and Landry, Davis, Dorsey. Like the first round picks, ridiculous in the first couple of years under Les. And he went to the Dolphins. And at that point, some people in Baton Rouge loved the man. Thank you for what you did. I understand you got to go to the NFL. That's a dream you wanted to chase. Thank you so much. Go Dolphins. And some people, screw you, you left. We had something great and you left. And that's complicated in its own. But then you add the bigger twist, which is coming back to Alabama. Well, now you coach in the division and we don't like you right off the bat. And yeah, you almost beat us in 2007, but we beat you and we won the national championship and we're still good. And y'all were in the Independence Bowl 2 years ago, so whatever. We don't like you. You coach the other team, but we're fine. And then there's another twist. And he builds the greatest college football juggernaut of the generation. And that makes things really complicated. And for me, when he is wearing that shirt that he's got on right there, the red one with that A on it, I despise the man. I think nothing of what he built at LSU over that 4-year, 5-year run. Nothing. Because right now, you're coming into my state, cherry-picking top-end talent, wrecking my dreams in 2011 and 2012 and 2014, and rattling off national championships in the process. Right in my face. I don't like the man. I don't care what you did at LSU. That's how I felt in 12 and 13 and 14, all the way through this past year. Do not care about the fact that you built the football ops facility or the Cox Communications deal. Do not care that you put programs in place that allowed a lot of the progress that went on over the last 20 years to happen. You coach for the other team, don't like you. That's how I felt. And now, he doesn't coach there anymore. And personally, as I've now taken a week to kind of digest that, and I'm watching Kalen DeBoer try to keep any humans in the football facility in Tuscaloosa. The horses are out. I kind of sat back yesterday after listening to Jimmy and Charlie talk about this and went, a lot of that ill will from me is gone. And I can now sit there and say, you know what? If they don't hire him, this may not happen. It may have. LSU was always a place that had a lot of passion and had a lot of great players in driving distance and was going to be in the SEC with that network and all the money that comes with it. And maybe somebody else would have kickstarted this thing and got it cooking. Dabo Swinney did it at Clemson. Kirby Smart did it at Georgia. Urban Meyer did it at Florida. Like, there are other coaches that can kickstart resource-rich programs and get them moving. And maybe that would have happened in Baton Rouge, maybe not. But inarguably, he did kickstart it. And I was miserable watching him coach for 17 years. But now, if he did come back to Baton Rouge, I would give him a standing ovation. I would express appreciation for the time that he spent here. It doesn't completely erase the fact that he was the mortal enemy and the guy that derailed the program by building what he did in Tuscaloosa. Doesn't erase it, but the fact that he's not there anymore lessens it. And I am able to go back to sophomore year in high school Hunt that could not believe he could open ESPN.com in the high school library and see LSU was ranked in the top 5. Oh my gosh, we're in the SEC championship game? Are you serious? We're in the Sugar Bowl? We were throwing a party in Shreveport for the Independence Bowl. Now we're playing for the national champion. Like, I can put myself back in that emotion. You bring up the Toonses logo and this picture that Casey's got up here with the ugly stripes on the shirt. It was 2002. It was 2003. I can put myself back in those emotions that I had never felt before in terms of college football. And he was responsible for that. And I can look back at it fondly now. I could not do that while he was visiting all the South Louisiana high schools and just beating our brains in every November. I could not dissociate from it. I can now, I think. We've got a Citizens Bank and Trust poll up, and I'm curious how you feel about Nick Saban today. Are you still scarred by the time he spent in Tuscaloosa? Do you not care about him anymore because he's moved on and you got to just worry about what's going on now? Or do you feel now that, thanks for all that. Appreciate it. The last week has shifted me. And maybe there's a little bit, maybe it's been added to because of the ridiculous exodus out of that football program over the last week. Maybe that's expedited my thoughts of, it really is over. I can really look back. It's complicated, like I laid out. Like, it's very complicated. If he'd have left and gone and won a bunch of championships, as Charlie said yesterday at Penn State, I don't think that emotional buildup is quite as strong. But the fact of the matter is that he put a roadblock in front of LSU and Auburn for almost 2 decades. And you had to have Cam Newton, Joe Burrow, or Jaden Daniels to drive the bus through. That or a kick 6. That's about it. That's what it took to get where you were trying to get. No one else in college football was dealing with that. LSU and Auburn, that's it. Texas A&M will try to say they did in the COVID year. Go sit in the corner. I'm still not super wild about the way Nick Saban treated people sometimes, especially the media at times. I'm not sure he'd have been my best buddy. We've exact opposite personalities. But I can now sit back and go, hey, that was pretty cool what you did. I'm glad LSU's really good now. Due in some part, whether you want to say it's 98% or 14%, because he came here and got it kickstarted. Complicated stuff, but we don't have to worry about him anymore. He's moved on. You got Kalen DeBoer in that chair now. We'll see how that goes. It's been quite a week for Coach DeBoer. All right, hour 2 is coming up here after we close things out. I want to talk about Mickey Loomis's press conference. We'll chat with Chris Blair about LSU's basketball victory last night. I've got plenty to get to in hour number 2. When we come back, speaking of rivals and teams in your conference, there's one coming in, and I think they need to get a grip. Talk about that next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
We bring you a double dose of NFL games. We start on Saturday at 3:30 with Texans-Ravens. Immediately following that, it's Packers-49ers. Then on Sunday at 2 o'clock, it's Buccaneers-Lions. Then Chiefs-Bills. Catch all the action on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
This probably wouldn't be a segment I would spend any time on if the Texas Longhorns weren't headed to the SEC. But because they are, might as well shoehorn it in here at the end of this hour. Texas last night had a home basketball game against Central Florida, and they blew a 17-point lead in the second half, and Central Florida beat them. Then there was a little skirmish in the post-game handshake line because Texas coach Rodney Terry took significant exception to the Central Florida players throwing the horns down up before the post-game handshake line. And then he went to the podium after and doubled down on his stance. And we'll play the sound here from Texas coach Rodney Terry. This is his reaction to what happened in the handshake line because the Central Florida players were doing the horns down.
I'm a big believer in, you win the right way, you lose the right way. And, I always tell my guys, whether you win or lose, you win the right way. You lose the right way, you carry yourself the right way. You don't go through the handshake line or prior to getting to the handshake line and have about 6 or 7 guys putting the horns down. We don't do that, because when you do those kind of things, it looks very classless, and it also looks like you were just hoping to win. We never go into games trying to hope to win. We go into games expecting to win. So we don't act like that. We expect to win. We don't jump up and down like we won a national championship. We sure don't step on anyone's home court deal and act crazy and try to show them up in any way. We don't do that. So that's what I was angry about, and I was letting those guys know you don't do that. You guys won. Hey, we shake your hand, tip our hat to you, but we're not going to let you act that way in our building. You're not going to do that. You're not going to put your horns down and do all that nonsense.
A couple of things, Coach Terry. First of all, if that's classless, what is yelling and screaming and cussing at the opposing team in the handshake line? Like, what is that? Is that all dignity and all class? What is openly chastising and throwing shots at them saying, oh, they obviously just hope to win in the post-game press conference? Like, is that all class? Probably not. And 2, Texas has got to freaking chill with the horns down thing. They've got to chill. The Big 12 went far enough to say it's a 15-yard penalty in football when you do the horns down. Huh? It's a hand gesture. It's sports. Calm down. They're not running over to your bench and openly mocking you to your face. They're just doing a horns down signal. Who cares? And there's a lot of people insinuating that Texas might not appreciate the intensity of the SEC and the fact that they're not necessarily the top dog who can knock on the conference office's door and say, hey, you need to start handing out penalties for all this horns down stuff. We don't like that. I don't have any real ill will towards Texas. Like, we've played them in basketball, played them in football in the Cotton Bowl in 19. I don't really care about Texas. I've worked up plenty of hatred for A&M. You're all very well aware of that. But I've got a feeling this may come pretty quickly in terms of disdain from the other members inside the SEC. Because it just feels like, and I haven't experienced it much, that they kind of carry themselves with an air of superiority. And they may be in for an awakening here in the SEC. Who cares if the Central Florida kids do the horns down? Shake hands and go watch some tape and get better so you don't blow a 17-point lead. And certainly don't start cussing and yelling at the other team in the handshake line. It just seemed, 1, not practicing what you preach, and 2, childish. They didn't go over to the Texas bench and flash the horns down. They weren't doing it in the handshake line to the players' faces. They were over by their bench. It's a hand gesture in sports. Who cares? A&M folks have been warning the SEC about this. We've got a coworker that went to Texas Tech who just despises the Longhorns and says, just get ready. You'll hate them real quick. And again, I don't think I bring this up if they're not coming into the Southeastern Conference, but this seemed so pathetic last night. And by the way, if you keep reacting like that and people understand that it's getting under your skin that much, it's going to come back tenfold. They're going to keep doing it. You better win. Whatever. Horns down. Got a lot to get to in hour number 2. My thoughts on Mickey Loomis's press conference, as well as our conversation with Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. Come back after Sports Center. It's a Thursday edition presented by Rouse's.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
This is Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. 3 days after walking out of a news conference when getting asked about his contract, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin says today his fire for the job has intensified.
I just believe there's a time and place for everything, and post-game press conferences are probably not the place to address contract issues and things of that nature. It's just a very individual thing, and on game day, I doubt any of us are in that mindset. Certainly I am not.
Tomlin expects to get a contract extension during the offseason. The Steelers have now lost 5 straight playoff games. ESPN's Josh Weinfuss reports the Arizona Cardinals lay off 3 high-ranking officials today. A 4th left the team on his own. In all, there were about 10 layoffs. An ESPN investigation found that current and former employees were subjected to abusive and intimidating behavior. Miami Hurricanes tight end Cam McCormick will be back with the team in the fall for one final season, his 9th year in college football.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Friday. C.J. Stroud or Jordan Love. I'll tell you which young quarterback has the best chance to go on the road and pull off the upset. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Working towards the weekend. Glad you're hanging out with us. Chris Blair with us in 15 minutes talking Tigers. Let's open hour 2 here talking about the Saints. A lot has been made of Mickey Loomis's press conference yesterday. He addressed a number of off-season questions with the black and gold. A lot of folks, as we talk with Luke Johnson about in the first hour, that root for the Saints and follow the Saints are disenchanted with the direction of the franchise and the current product after what was the golden era of the New Orleans Saints. And so Mickey Loomis addressed a number of things, and so we'll kind of check them off one by one. This first bite we'll play is the one that is getting the most run from yesterday, and it was his response to the decision to retain Dennis Allen after a couple of seasons not winning the poor NFC South. And this was Mickey Loomis's very, very prepared and seemingly rehearsed answer.
You know, the easy thing to do, the lazy thing to do is look at the results of a season and say, it's a coach's fault or it's the quarterback's fault. I think oftentimes you have to look beyond that. Look, I was prepared for this question, right? Chuck Noll, his first 3 years, Hall of Fame coach. He was 1-13, 5-9, 6-8. But they recognize that this guy's a good football coach, right? Bill Belichick, 6-10, 7-9, 7-9. Tom Landry, 0-11, 4-9, 5-8. 4-10, 5-8. Hall of Fame coaches, all of them. You got to look beyond that. You know, what are the reasons why we were 9-8 instead of 13-4? Look, it's collective. It's the players. It's the coaches. It's me. It's our personnel staff, our roster. It's variables sometimes that we don't have any control of. My assessment is Dennis Allen is a good coach. With Sean Payton, we went 10-6 the first year, but then we were 7-9, 8-8. I heard some of the same noise, but at the time, I knew we had a good football coach. And so I think sometimes the hard thing to do is to be patient and recognize your other shortcomings and get those fixed. And that's what we're doing.
I'm not going to fly off the handle with that answer. I could. I don't think it would be genuine. I just think the message is so poor. Because in that answer, he is very clearly speaking to the fan base. And to put Dennis Allen in the conversation with Tom Landry and Bill Belichick and Bill Walsh and Chuck Noll is borderline insulting to the fan base. It's basically saying, look, you guys don't get it. You know what Sean Payton did, but you don't realize that everywhere else, these great coaches have rocky starts. We've got a great coach. And he's going to be in the same breath as these Hall of Fame guys. That's the message you're sending. And it's just a bad look. as Luke said in the first hour when we were talking with him, read the room. It's important that your fan base be engaged with what's going on. And they're tuning this whole thing out because of the results the last 2 years and Dennis Allen's results in the entirety of his coaching career. Bill Belichick had Tom Brady. Tom Landry had Roger Staubach. Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw, and just a host of Hall of Fame players on those great Steelers teams. Bill Walsh had Joe Montana. These situations are not comparable.
Derek Carr is not Joe Montana?
Maybe right now they're about the same. Montana at whatever he is, 60-something, and Carr now. It's tone deaf to bring that up. And he admitted it, and it's very obvious, like, he was prepped for that. And essentially what, in my mind, what he thought he was going to get out of that was, I'll show them, boom, here's the proof. I'm right, you're wrong. And the messaging sucks. Not to mention there's gum flapping around in his mouth the whole time. It just seemed so tone deaf. There is an admirable angle here where they're committed to what they're doing. But in the end, this is a results game. And the results suck relative to what the expectation is. You were gift-wrapped this NFL season. And because of the ineptitude across the organization, you threw it away. And now Tampa is enjoying the fruits of that. I thought that answer was awful. He added later, like, why are you still confident in what Dennis Allen brings to the table here?
You know, I think the things that the head coach is responsible for, you know, game day management, scheduling, all the things that you guys don't see, that I see or that we see internally, I feel good about. Yeah, there's certainly areas that he can improve in. But look, we've had a quarterback change. We've had, some things changed in the last two or 3 years. And so we got to look at ourselves and say, okay, what's our expectations? Are they realistic? And if we're not meeting those expectations, what can we do differently? And I don't believe that that's the head coach right now.
You know who else had a quarterback change? Tampa. You know who else had a quarterback change? Green Bay. You know who else basically had a quarterback change? San Francisco. They seem to be fine. Yeah, I know the organization hasn't been run perfectly. And last year there was a ton of injuries. And this year Derek Carr was a little bit banged up and Kamara got suspended. And it's not ideal. Nothing's ideal in the NFL. The coach's literal job is to take the not ideal circumstances and figure it out. And Dennis Allen doesn't do that. Anyone can pilot the NFL franchise when everything works out perfectly and all the personnel decisions are great and nobody gets hurt and the schedule works out your way. Throw any coach in there, they'll be fine. The coach's job is when things are not great, figure it out. They don't. The results do not back any of this up. Certainly, the possibility exists that this thing gets righted and that Derek Carr is the answer and that they make some shrewd moves in veteran free agency and hit on a couple of draft picks and they're much better next year and they win 13 games. That possibility exists. I just have a hard time seeing it, and so does everybody else on the outside. I didn't like that answer either. Now, this is a great question, and this is probably, to me, a bigger concern even than Dennis Allen with me, is the Saints' roster situation with the salaries attached to aging players whose production is declining. And Mickey Loomis was asked, hey, how much longer can you stretch this while the roster ages?
We go through that process every year in the off season. And, I've said this before, is that we had kind of a vision and a plan for post Drew Brees. And then COVID hits and we get this big setback relative to the cap and finances, and so that's caused us to recalibrate a little bit. But the answer to the question is yes, we do that. I'm not going to tell you what we're doing, but we do that, and we have to make up some ground. There's no question. Over a period of time here, we're going to have to make up some ground cap wise.
They're the same names I've been mentioning and everyone's been mentioning and about, but it's just what you've got attached to Ryan Ramczyk and Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas. It's a lot. And the production's not there. So what do you do with Marshawn Lattimore? Can you do anything with Alvin Kamara? What's next for Trevor Penning? That's the other side of things. It's not an age issue. It's a production issue, obviously. But there's just a lot of trouble spots here as you've continued to, as we always say, kick that can down the road. And it makes all the sense in the world to do that when Drew Brees is your quarterback. And we all knew at some point that you were going to have to pay the piper, and the Saints just don't really do it. And that's how you end up with the oldest roster in the NFL. And that's how you end up in a situation where you don't have a third-round pick this year, and you don't have a fourth-round pick this year. That's the only way to get younger is to draft players, and you don't have the picks to do it. That's not good. They did decide to move on from Pete Carmichael, and Mickey Loomis addressed that decision, which is really the only significant change being made.
DA and we just, as an organization, decided that we needed to change. And Pete's a fantastic coach. Been with us for 17, 18 years, done a lot of really, really good things, but just felt like we needed to change.
And then the question was brought up, is there a possibility that someone on the current staff could become an offensive coordinator?
Is anybody on the current staff up for the OC job? I mean, or is that not?
Yeah, I'm going to keep that list to ourselves right now. But those candidates will come out eventually.
I don't know Ronald Curry at all. If he walked in this door right now, I wouldn't know who he was. I don't know what his acumen is as far as play calling, game planning, play design. I don't know any of that stuff. I just know that if they promote him, I think it is further evidence that this franchise refuses to move on from the old guard. And again, it could work out beautifully. I don't know. I don't have the answers. My feeling is go get some fresh blood. Do something different in the organization. It's something this organization has refused to do year over year over year. And at some point, continuity becomes stubbornness. And if that's something they do, promote from within, like they did with defensive coordinator to head coach, like they did with quarterback coach to offensive coordinator. They do that again, you're just stuck in the same rut. I think that would be a massive, massive mistake. But we'll see. It's going to be, it will be, in my opinion, a fascinating off-season for the New Orleans Saints based on what they need to do, because so many on the outside suggest that radical change is needed, and so few, or if any, inside the organization feel that way. How will they attempt to clear these hurdles that clearly exist? Just got to wait and see. A lot to get to here in hour number 2 on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. When we come back, Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, talking a little hoops on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, Our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years.
Join me for a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Rouse's. We'll recap LSU and Ole Miss from the PMAC and chat with Chris Blair, the LSU Sports Radio Network. Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Good win for the LSU Fighting Tigers last night. Took down Ole Miss. Final score 89-80 inside the PMAC. Chris Blair was there and on the call. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
Doing great. Enjoyed last night. A fun game to be a part of. Just great to be there, and so happy for Matt McMahon. So happy for this team. It's I guess the first real signature win in conference play for Coach McMahon, and like I said, couldn't be happier for him.
Look, I was, I guess, not optimistic is an okay way to put it after the performance at Syracuse, the performance in Houston against Texas, the performance against Kansas State. Not super competitive in those games, and I had low expectations for what this would look like when they got to conference play. This is a really, really strong start. What's different now, other than Jalen Cook, than what we saw back in November and December?
No, I would agree with you. I think that I would be right there with you a month ago, a month and a half, 2 months ago, if you had, kind of told me this team would be playing this type of defense consistently, putting together 35 and 40 minutes of really solid defense. And the fact that they're now rebounding the basketball, limiting offensive rebounds. I mean, that was a problem we were talking about in the early non-conference. Offensive rebounds to Nichols and to Southeastern. Obviously, some of the better teams we played in the non-conference slate. Teams were shooting, struggling to shoot the three coming in to face LSU, and then they would have the night of the season knocking down threes. All of those issues alone have been corrected really over the last 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, you go back, I think, to the last two non-conference games after, just before Christmas and after Christmas. And even though you looked at them and you thought, well, what does that translate to SEC play? I really felt like even after watching the Northwestern State game that LSU looked different. Like, yeah, they're supposed to win that game, and okay, you're not impressed regardless of how big a margin they win by, but LSU looked different. And then it was completely a different team in Bryan College Station open conference play against Texas A&M. Texas A&M is not the most gifted offensive team in the SEC, but you can almost count, Hunt, that every time you play them, it's going to be physical. That's the style that Buzz likes to play. And they know where their strengths are. They're not a great shooting team, so they got to out-muscle you and rebound their misses. LSU out-physical Texas A&M on their home floor, and that carried over against Vanderbilt. They were the tougher team. Against Auburn, they just turned the ball over, and Auburn thrives on that. That's when they're at their best. But you saw the fight in a 28-point deficit. They came fighting back in 11 and a half minutes to at least make it a game. And again, I thought last night the more physical team was LSU. And again, the offense didn't really come around until maybe the last minute and a half of the first half. And then Jordan Wright just set the team on fire to open the second half, and LSU was off and running.
What does Jordan Wright mean to this group?
It's incredible. And, talking to Matt early in the season and even during the first coaches show to start January, it was kind of like we really are looking for him to be the alpha leader of this team. And again, we kind of take it for granted. He's a 4-year player at Vanderbilt. He scored 1,000 points. He's had so many great moments in his SEC career. You think he just arrives to the locker room at LSU, his home state, and suddenly he's telling everybody how it's going to be. And I just don't think that's his personality. I think he was one of those that led by example. And I've watched him in the last 3 or 4 games get into guys on the sidelines during timeouts. I think he's now become that vocal leader. And I think the fact that Jalen Cook now takes some pressure off all of the backcourt for LSU to run the offense, that allows Jordan Wright to rely on his strengths, which, again, 14 straight games, double-figure scoring. And the stat book last night, as Coach McMahon talked about after the game, I mean, it's impressive. The points, the rebounds, the steals, the assists. I mean, he really has elevated his game, and I think that's just part of him now being comfortable as the leader of this team.
Moussa Cisse and Jamarian Sharp are not very good offensive players, but they can be intimidating defensively. And I was a little concerned with Will Baker in that matchup because of what we saw up in Syracuse against a guy with that kind of size. I thought Will Baker and Hunter Dean acquitted themselves pretty nicely last night. They both got 8 rebounds. Your thoughts on LSU's front court, which is not going to be relied on, I don't think, a ton to score, but they've got to hold their own against some of the big athletic bigs in the SEC.
Oh, I thought they were huge. I mean, I think Baker did a good job of using his athleticism to both kind of keep Cisse and even the big Sharp kid. They really didn't have a lot of success. I mean, they're going to have some blocks, which they did, the majority of in the first half, because you're 7'5". You should be able to get 1 or 2, maybe 3 blocks. But I think LSU's physicality down low, and again, I've said it, the Texas A&M game, midway through that first half, Hunter Dean came in and I think surprised the Aggies that, wait a minute, this guy's not messing around. He's going to put his body on you. He's going to move you. And he kind of set the tone physicality, I think, for the team. And I thought last night he did a tremendous job. And, Chris Beard down the stretch decided, you know what, these guys are right now a liability. So he put both of his bigs on the bench from, I guess, about the 10-minute mark on and just went smaller and more athletic. And I think that's directly attributed to the job that Will and Hunter did that maybe doesn't show up in the stat book. But I think they really kind of neutralized that advantage for Ole Miss.
I like Tyrell Ward knocking down a couple of big threes, one off the dribble last night. We kind of know what you're going to get from Jalen Cook, Jordan Wright, those guys, but Ward's one of those kind of off options that on a given night can really boost you.
Yeah, I know you and I have been waiting for him, since he arrived on campus to kind of be the guy, one you can count on, especially from the outside. And, one of the things Coach Brady, I know, mentioned to him last night, we had the pleasure of having Tyrell join us, after the game talking on the radio. And Coach Brady pulled him aside and said, "You're finding your strength, young man. You're finding where your role is." I mean, he was pivotal in kind of triggering that comeback attempt at Auburn with back-to-back-to-back trays. And then last night, it was like, if we can get maybe a 5, 6, 7-point lead, Tyrell comes in there and knocks down maybe a couple of big threes, this thing could open up. And right on cue, he does just that. I know he wants to be a starter. I think at some point he will be a starter. He has been a starter. But right now, I think he's really in his groove. And, when you've got a guy like Jalen, who, again, can kind of run the offense, even Mike Williams, the freshman, if he's kind of running things, let Tyrell find his spots on the court. He's much better when he's, lined up, catch and shoot. And when you got confidence as a shooter, that can be dangerous. And I think right now he's doing exactly what helps him and what ultimately helps the team.
A&M's run through the conference last year was so impressive. Didn't end in the NCAA tournament the way they wanted to, but they had a great regular season and got almost everybody back from that team. And they haven't gotten off to a very good start. You saw them in person. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think they're at the mercy of, again, if they don't offensive rebound, they're in trouble because they're not a very good athletic. They're athletic, but they're not a very good shooting team. When we took on A&M to open conference play, they were shooting 27% from three-point land on the year. And that's okay. They've won a lot of games because they were rebounding, 35, 40, 42% of their misses, getting 18 and 20 and 25 rebounds. If you look at their lone conference win, which was against Kentucky last weekend, they hit a couple of clutch threes, but they had, 25, 26 offensive rebounds.
Yep.
If you let them get to the glass on the offensive end, that's how they win games. LSU didn't let them do that. In fact, the hope was you could hold your own. They were averaging 18 offensive rebounds a game, which was tops in the country at the time. And you hope, if you can maybe limit that to 10 or 11. LSU dominated. I mean, they kept them in the single digits, and their points, second chance points, were almost, non-existent. That's what you'll have to do again. The thing about this scheduling is you're taking on Texas A&M for the second time in exactly 2 weeks. So there's not going to be a lot of change from what LSU does or what A&M does. Both teams going to know their strengths and weaknesses. I think it comes down to you making an advantage. If you're Matt McMahon, you say, guys, we know what the blueprint is. Now it comes down to, once again, just executing for 40 minutes. Because if we do this, we'll win this game.
Last year had to be tough on a lot of these guys, losing as many games as they did. There's got to be a different feeling around them over the last couple of weeks, a little bit of confidence, maybe for the first time in a couple of years.
Yeah, I noticed it Saturday on the flight back with the team from Auburn. I mean, again, it was not their best performance. You're down 28 points. I don't think the score, believe it or not, if you just watch the second half, even the final score wasn't as indicative as close as it got. There were some nervous people inside Neville Arena there with about 3 minutes to go in that game. And LSU, a three-pointer away from making it a 5-point game. And to me, that was a big swing down the stretch. But I noticed, and I was paying attention as we got on the bus, we went to the airport, we got on the plane, and we flew back home. It was a very different feeling from last year on some of those road trips. Nobody had their head down. I mean, they knew they had made mistakes. They knew they can't go to that type of environment against that type of team and play that way and expect to win, even with a great comeback effort. That's different from last year. And I got to give credit to Matt McMahon and his staff and ultimately these players. Because in college basketball, and it's not an LSU problem, it's a college basketball problem. A lot of times when the shots aren't falling, it's very hard to stay focused defensively. And if you look at the A&M game, and you look at the Vandy game, and you look at the Auburn game, and even in the first half of the Ole Miss game where they trailed almost 15 minutes of the first half, their defense never slacked off. And eventually the offense came around against A&M on the road, against Vandy, and ultimately last night against Ole Miss. The fact that these guys are not letting the offense early disrupt what they're doing, and they're locked in attention to detail defensively, is something to behold. It was not there a month ago, and it certainly wasn't there a year ago. So kudos to everybody. I think, John Brady says it all the time. Defense and rebounding, if you do that effectively and consistently, you'll have a chance in every game. And your offense is going to come and go no matter how talented you are. That's a hard thing to go do night in and night out. And I think for the last 4 to 6 games, That's what LSU has done, really going back to the second half of that Texas loss.
LSU and A&M from the PMAC, 3 o'clock tip-off, 2:30 pregame. Chris Blair and John Brady on the call. Eagle 98.1 here in Baton Rouge. I know they play Georgia next Wednesday. When's the next Coach Matt McMahon show over at TJ Ribs?
We'll be there Monday night.
All right.
So I think for the next 3 weeks, Monday night at 7 prior to the Wednesday conference game. So that's where we'll look forward to seeing you. And again, I know you were there last night. It was a fun atmosphere. We need more Tiger fans. I think you'll enjoy the style of play, and if they continue this type of effort, you certainly will enjoy the type of effort this team is giving you. Hope to see you there at 3 o'clock Saturday.
Looking very much forward to it. Thanks, Chris.
You got it.
Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, was on the call last night, and he'll be there on Saturday, 3 o'clock. And like he said, hopefully a good crowd in there. It's a great tip time. Saturday, 3 o'clock, out of there at 5:30, in time to grab some dinner and hopefully have a win over the Texas A&M Aggies. We'll preview that one coming up on tomorrow's show. Take a time out. 30 minutes left to go here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Tell you about it every single day. Bath time in my house, about 6 o'clock. We get the Myers man in there. It's a war zone. There's splashing going on everywhere. Toys flying all over the place. We need the bathtub. You might not have Myers splashing all over the place at 6 o'clock in your house every single night, but you just like to take that tub out and put a shower in. One Bath and Closets can do it. It's a quick job. It's a simple job. It's an affordable job, and it changes the aesthetic and function of your bathroom. Get that done. Go to onebathandclosets.com. Check out pictures of their great work. Check out testimonials from their satisfied customers. This is not one of those contractors that are going to come in, do the job as quickly as possible, leave, take your money, and then something breaks 2 weeks later. They're going to do it right the first time. They're going to leave the competition behind. Check out that website. Request your free consultation at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Hudge Tire Pros and Car Care. I want to be a radio professional right now. 10440 Greenville Springs Road. Go down Sherwood Forest. You're going to get to Greenville Springs Road. You take a left. You want to talk about home brand. You want to talk since 1988. It doesn't matter what you need. All changes, tune-ups, alignments, battery service, belts and hoses, brake repair. They are professionals. 7A to 6P Monday through Friday. They'll work with you. Call up, set up an appointment. They'll do it all besides a transmission. Hudge Tire Pros and Car.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. The latest on the Saints OC search, and we'll recap LSU Ole Miss and hoops and Pels Hornets. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Listen to all 4 NFL playoff games from the divisional round starting Saturday afternoon at 3:30 when the Baltimore Ravens will host the Texans, and continuing Sunday afternoon at 2 when the Lions host the Tampa Bay Bucks. Go to 1045ESPN.com for a full schedule. Your home for the 2024 NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 58 is 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
It appears Lance Hurd has found his new home. Former 5-star prospect and reserve offensive lineman here at LSU during his freshman season. Likely headed to Knoxville, Tennessee to be a Tennessee Volunteer. It's funny because my reaction to that is different now than it was just 12 months ago. 12 months ago, I'd have been like, man, I'm really bummed out that Lance Hurd left LSU. That's a guy that would have been a key contributor at some point on the offensive line. When you get the reps that he did as a freshman, it stands to reason that you're going to be a key piece at some point. I don't think he would have started at tackle next year, but it's possible. But I'd have been bummed out. And if the 2 finalists were Ole Miss and Tennessee, I'd have been begging for him to go to Tennessee. You play Alabama every year. You can maybe help beat Bama, which helps us win the West. I don't really play Tennessee all that often. We're not in really competition with them. That's great. Go to Tennessee. Don't go to Ole Miss. I got to compete with them in the West. Well, now Ole Miss and Tennessee are kind of the same. Now, LSU does play Ole Miss next year and doesn't play Tennessee next year. So in the immediate future, doesn't really matter. But Lance Hurd will have to be in college for another year. And maybe LSU and Tennessee play each other, or maybe LSU and Tennessee are jockeying for a spot in the SEC championship game. So it's just a different feeling about where you stack up and who's important to you. Spent years grinding Florida every year in recruiting and the bowl games and trying not to win national championships because I know we're playing them next year and it's a huge game. Tennessee, I don't really care about. I know they're playing Bama, so I want them to be good. Tennessee's my second favorite team in the country. If they could have ever beaten Saban, the one time they beat Saban, it got me to Atlanta. One time. Tennessee beat him. It helped get us to Atlanta. It didn't help any of the other years. But now Tennessee and Ole Miss, like, kind of the same. So it's still a bummer that Lance Hurd is headed to Knoxville. That's just the state of college football. You get guys in the program, if they're not given certain assurances, whether it's in playing time, name, image, and likeness, whatever the case may be, they're free to look elsewhere and can land elsewhere. And that's going to be the case with Lance Hurd, who it appears will be wearing some orange next year on Rocky Top. He's headed to Tennessee, according to all the reports from the folks over at 24/7. Also wanted to look at the 2 other SEC basketball games from last night, and I have really one takeaway from these basketball games. Kentucky beat Mississippi State 90-77. Kentucky's really good on offense. Reeves was great last night. Tolu Smith had a big game for Mississippi State, but Kentucky scored 90 points and was able to win. They're 3-1 in league play. Mississippi State is 1-3. The other game was Auburn, who moves to 4-0 in league play by beating Vanderbilt in Nashville by 15 points. That was a 17-point game at halftime. Vanderbilt scored some in garbage time to make it look a little bit better than it was. It really wasn't good at all. No one in Nashville cares about basketball right now. They're 0-4. They're 5-12 overall, which is atrocious. And now the watch is, how long can Jerry Stackhouse continue to be the head coach at Vanderbilt? Beck, I am putting an over-under on Jerry Stackhouse. Will he be the Vanderbilt head coach on March 1st?
I will say yes.
You will say yes. The last regular season game for Vanderbilt is March the 9th, and then they will play.
I think they're going to fire him after the season ends.
Okay, so they'll play that Tuesday game at 8 p.m. in the SC championship, in the SC tournament, and they'll fire him the next day.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think Vanderbilt's the type of team with the type of history that they would really be that bold to fire a coach like that.
Fully understand that point. It's very reasonable. I also think there is something to the players having to play out this string with this coach that everyone knows is getting fired, and you can just rip the Band-Aid off with 3 weeks to go.
I think you're right.
Give them 5 games where they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
He's gone. We got the assistant coach that helped recruit you here. Just go play.
I think you're right, but I think Vanderbilt just doesn't think that way.
Interestingly enough, LSU plays Vanderbilt in Nashville on March the 2nd. So basically what we're saying is I don't think he coaches that game. You do think he coaches that game.
We shall see.
We'll see. I don't think the SEC is great, I think it's actually down a little bit. I'm looking at this. Their next game is at Mississippi State. I don't think they're going to win that. They're not beating Tennessee in Nashville. Then they go to Auburn. No chance. They could beat Missouri. But at that point, they would be 0-7. If they don't meet Missouri, they play Kentucky, who they're not going to beat. They're at South Carolina. I don't trust them to win on the road. Then they got A&M. They're at Tennessee. They may not win again until maybe Georgia on the 21st. Like, you could be 0-9, 0-10. At that point, I can't see it. Not this far along in Stackhouse's tenure. They've got a new AD who did not hire him. I think the clock's about run out on the Jerry Stackhouse experience. I don't think it was a bad hire. He'd done a good job coaching the G League. And I think he's actually a pretty good basketball coach. He has no players. And it's a player sport. You have to have players in this sport. As good a bench coach as you want to be, if you don't have the dudes in college basketball, it's just not going to matter. And they just have not had the dudes in the Stackhouse era. They have won exactly one game since... What date was this played on? Doesn't tell me, but it's been a long time. They've won one game against Dartmouth, and they have lost in that time 9. So not great up in Nashville. I don't think Jerry Stackhouse will coach against LSU on March the 2nd. We'll just have to see how that thing plays out. We got one more segment to go here. We'll close things out coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play. Looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to
On Friday's OTB, get you ready for another NFL playoff weekend. Plus, how did the women fare in their latest SEC bout? Well, LSU baseball as well. And an hour of champagne shenanigans. Friday, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
.1045 ESPN Baton Rouge brings you live coverage of the 2024 Reese's Senior Bowl. Our team of esteemed analysts T-Bob Hebert and Jacob Hester will be hosting Off the Bench live from Mobile, Alabama, Monday, January 29th through February the 2nd. Listen on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge and watch us on the 1045 YouTube channel.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Love our friends over at Rouse's. Gonna go by there tomorrow. Do a little grocery shopping for the weekend. Very pleasant shopping experience over there at Rouse's. I love the little butcher shop in the back. They've got great cuts of steak, your ribeyes, fillets, got your burgers. They also get kind of creative with some things, some stuffed burgers. They've got mushrooms and whatever, blue cheese stuffed burgers, that kind of thing. Pre-made patties, fantastic stuff. They got your pork chops, your chicken as well if you want to go a little leaner. It's the weekend. Blow it out. Go over to Rouse's. Download the Rouse's app to make shopping so easy over there, and they bring you our Thursday shows. Love the folks over at Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. All right, back. Let's play Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Country legend Reba McEntire will sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I don't think I want Reba doing the halftime show.
Yeah.
But for the national anthem, I think Reba works. Obviously a legend. And, my thing with the national anthem, and this is probably not a very American way to think of it, but it's just the way I feel. I don't like when people jazz up the national anthem and kind of make it their own. I realize it's the land of the free and you're free to do what you want, but, I want you to sing it, on key, the same way that it's been sung since the beginning of time. I don't need you kind of jazzing it up. I don't feel like Rebo's going to do that.
Probably not.
She'll probably hold some notes a little bit, but just kind of give me the standard national anthem. That's what I'm looking for. I'm sure people will be betting the over and under on that.
I was going to say, yeah. Have you ever considered betting on that?
I have never. It's the only time I bet all year is I bet on the Super Bowl. I bet $100, put it in the app, and I bet $100 on various things in the Super Bowl. I did pretty well last year. Shout out Jalen Hurts for the first touchdown on the QB sneak. And I'll probably do $100 again this year. I don't think it'll be on the national anthem, though. I'm going to put it on the actual football.
Next one here. Miami tight end Cam McCormick will be playing in his ninth season of college football in 2024. He started his career at Oregon in 2016. 9 seasons in college football. Take it or leave it.
It's the Van Wilder plan. Apparently, Cam McCormick was in the same signing class as Justin Herbert, who's been to Pro Bowls.
I graduated high school in 2015. It was a year after I graduated high school.
I don't know how. I can't do that math to get to 19. I got a COVID year as one.
He apparently had 4 seasons where he was injured that he was able to get.
But I didn't think you could get waivers past 1.
I don't know.
I mean, obviously, I don't know the rules, but
he redshirted as well.
I thought you could redshirt, medical redshirt, and COVID. So I can get to 6 or 7 pretty easy.
He must have multiple medical redshirts.
I can't get to 9. That's just I don't know what kind of hardship Cam's had. Again, the Van Wilder plan. I don't know. But look, he should qualify for some sort of pension or something for college football if you're going to play for that long. That's impressive. So he's probably 26, 27 years old.
I think so, yeah.
All right. Good for you, Cam. Don't go get a job. It sucks. Play football.
Yeah. Ian Rappaport tweeted earlier today that Bill Belichick will have a second interview with the Atlanta Falcons. Belichick in the NFC South. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. It sounds like this has got some real traction. A lot of people are tweeting about it and commenting on it. I'll be honest. If I'm a Saints fan and the Falcons hire Bill Belichick, I'm not too intimidated by that.
No. Why would you be? I mean, he's going to be almost in the same situation he was at New England
in
the last few years.
And they've been terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't think Brady's coming with him. No. So, if the Falcons are to trade up and take a quarterback, you scared of Bill Belichick? If they take Jaden Daniels, maybe that's not very comfortable. But I don't think Bill Belichick is going to come in and all of a sudden the Falcons are the favorite because he's won 7 Super Bowls or whatever, 6 Super Bowls. I don't know. I don't think that's super intimidating. I'd be more intimidated if they took some guy off McVay's tree that runs some crazy hyper fun offense.
He's definitely a better coach than Arthur Smith, but
yes, I would agree with that. But again, I think he's stubborn. I think he's set in his ways, and I think his ways aren't working. And so to think that you're just going to change the scenery and go out there with Desmond Ridder or some rookie quarterback and voila, Bill Belichick's got you figured out. I wouldn't worry too much about that if I was the Saints.
All right, last one here. The U.S. Department of Justice has joined the federal lawsuit filed by 11 state attorney generals against the NCAA that are seeking to eliminate the NCAA transfer rules. The NCAA are screwed. Take it or leave it.
I'll always take that. Yeah, I don't think they do anything that's correct. Look, the transfer rules, in my opinion, have made things really difficult for college football coaches. But everyone's playing by the same rules, and you're able to restock the shelves just as quickly as they can leave you. The only exception to that is the situation that Alabama currently finds itself in. Nobody's feeling sorry for Alabama. I get that, and I certainly don't either at all. But I do understand that by the letter of the law, there was a window for the transfer portal to be open in Alabama to take players at that time, and then that window closed. And then their coach retired, and now only Alabama has people transferring out. Now, obviously, Washington does too, but Alabama can't restock the shelves. They can only lose players because the transfer portal is closed for everybody that they might want. So there are some issues with that, and Alabama's crying a foul, and nobody cares because they've been dominating everybody for 2 decades. But if you're just going to look at it objectively, that's a tough break for them and opens them up to a very adverse situation when the rules dictate, everyone can leave your school. You can't get anybody back, though. That's tough. And that's Kalen DeBoer's plight at this point, but he'll be paid quite handsomely for it. I don't know what this lawsuit is claiming. I don't know what the result could or should be. I just know that when the NCAA gets involved, they usually don't do a very good job. So that's my That's my strong anticipation at this point from that lawsuit. All right, that's it for Take It or Leave It. Great win for LSU last night in basketball. Makes me excited again for the game on Saturday, and hopefully the town is picking up a little bit of momentum for LSU basketball. They've got that saying that Matt McMahon said at some point in the press conference, and that plays right before the game every single game, where he says, "Don't wait until we win to come out. Be a part of why we win and come out." Now they're winning a little bit. They are in a good position, and they've already beaten this team, and it's a team that in Kentucky it's not played in A&M it's not played great. So we'll preview it tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Probably chat with Travis Brown about A&M, and we'll certainly get to Preston Guy from TigerBait.com on some LSU football tomorrow as well. So looking forward to our Friday show brought to you by Corks. Missed any today's show? You can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your podcast, you can find the Hunt Palmer Show. You can also find us on YouTube. My take on Nick Saban's legacy at LSU now that he's gone, that'll be at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. And our reaction to Mickey Loomis's press conference yesterday, which was a little odd, that'll be at Hunt on Saints on YouTube as well. That's it for us today. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. Have a wonderful Thursday evening. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what